there's a real chance that everything you believe right now is a shadow on a wall. Not a lie, not fake news, something quieter and much harder to catch. A shadow cast by a fire you've never turned around to see. And here's the part that should actually worry you. You won't notice, because whoever or whatever is projecting that shadow has gotten terrifyingly good at it in the last 2 years. Over 2,400 years ago, a Greek philosopher told a story about prisoners chained in a cave, staring at a wall, mistaking shadows for the whole of reality. Today, I'm going to show you that story is not about the past. It's about the exact screen you're looking at right now. And by the end, I'm going to ask you a question that, if you actually sit with it, changes how you use every AI tool for the rest of your life. Here's the strange part. The people who study this seriously, philosophers, cognitive scientists, AI researchers, aren't asking, is this technology dangerous? They're asking something stranger. They're asking, if there's a prisoner in this story, who exactly is it? Is it you, scrolling, trusting the answer the machine hands you? Or is it the machine itself, trapped somewhere you've never thought to look? Keep that question in your back pocket. We're going to need it later. Let's start somewhere ordinary, somewhere you've actually lived. It's 11:40 p.m. You're lying in bed, phone 6 inches from your face. You ask an AI assistant something. Maybe, is this rash something to worry about? Maybe, what should I say in this text to my ex? Maybe just, what's the best way to fix my sleep schedule? Within 2 seconds, you get an answer. Calm, confident, structured in tidy bullet points. It sounds like it knows. You don't check 3 other sources. You don't call a doctor or a friend or sit with the discomfort of not knowing. You read the answer, you feel a small click of relief, and you move on. That click, that's the moment worth pausing on, because for a few seconds, a pattern of text convinced you that the search for truth was over. Here's the first uncomfortable idea. That click doesn't feel like trusting a machine. It feels like knowing something. But knowing and feeling like you know are not the same experience from the inside. They feel identical. That's the whole problem. And 24 centuries ago, one philosopher built an entire allegory just to describe that exact confusion, the moment a shadow feels indistinguishable from the thing itself. So here's the question worth actually asking. What if the structure of that confusion hasn't changed at all in 2,400 years, only the machinery producing it? What if the fire is still burning, the puppets are still walking past it, and you're still facing the wall? Except now, the wall fits in your pocket. To see it clearly, we have to go back to the cave. Not the summary you got in school, the actual story, the way it was meant to be felt. Picture this. You were born in chains, not in a prison cell, in a cave deep underground. Your legs, your neck, even your head are fixed in place, facing a stone wall, since the day you arrived. You have never turned around, never seen the entrance, never once felt sunlight on your skin. Behind you, a fire burns, low and constant. Between the fire and your back, a raised path runs along the cave, and on it, figures walk, carrying statues, carved animals, wooden puppets shaped like people. As they pass in front of the flame, the fire throws their shadows onto the wall in front of you. That's all you've ever seen. Shadows, moving, flickering, sometimes accompanied by echoing voices bouncing off the stone. So for you, those shadows aren't representations of anything. They are reality. It's the only world you've ever had access to. You'd give the shadows names. You'd praise whoever guessed which shadow would appear next. You'd build an entire life of meaning around silhouettes on rock. Now, and here's where the story turns. Imagine one prisoner is freed. Someone unchains him, forces him to stand, to turn his neck for the first time in his life. It hurts, physically hurts. The firelight alone is blinding after a lifetime of shadow. He's dragged up a steep, rocky passage, out of the cave completely, and the sun hits him. Real light for the first time. He's in agony. Everything is too bright, too loud, too real. Part of him wants nothing more than to go back down into the dark, familiar comfort of the wall. But he doesn't go back. Slowly, painfully, his eyes adjust. he starts to see trees, water, other people. Eventually, he can even look at the sun itself, the thing that was, this whole time, the source of every shadow he'd ever mistaken for the world. And then comes the part almost nobody remembers from school. He goes back down, back into the cave to tell the others what he saw. His eyes, adjusted to sunlight, are now useless in the dark. He stumbles. He can't identify the shadows as fast as he used to. And the prisoners, still chained to the wall, look at him and conclude something simple. The outside world broke him, made him worse at seeing, dangerous even to listen to. They don't want to be freed. They want to kill the man offering them the sun. Notice what the story is actually claiming, because it's easy to miss on a first hearing. It isn't claiming that the prisoners are stupid or that the freed man is simply smarter. It's claiming something colder, that comfort and truth can pull in opposite directions, and when they do, most of us, most of the time, will choose comfort, and then defend that choice as if it were wisdom. Okay, beautiful story. Strange, a little violent, but why exactly am I telling you this in a video about artificial intelligence? Because, my friend, the cave never closed. It just swapped the fire for a screen. The shadows now have names. Feed, generated answer, recommended content, autocomplete. Think concretely about what a large language model actually is, and, more importantly, what it has never been. It has never touched a table, tasted salt, felt physical pain, or breathed air. Everything it knows is text about the world, descriptions of descriptions, images of images, millions of shadows of human experience compressed into patterns with no direct route back to the sun that originally cast them. And here's the detail people miss. When you ask it, what is love, or what is grief, or what is justice, it isn't consulting some deep well of lived understanding. It's returning something closer to a statistical average of everything humans have ever written on the subject, smoothed, fluent, confident, a shadow of a shadow. That, on its own, isn't necessarily a tragedy. Books have always been shadows of experience too. The difference, and this is the part worth sitting with, is fluency. The more confident, coherent, and instant that echo sounds, the less your brain feels the urge to turn its neck and check whether there's anything beyond the wall at all. Here's the strange part nobody warns you about. Fluency and accuracy feel like the same sensation from the inside. A calm, well-punctuated paragraph feels more true than a hesitant, hedging one, even when the hesitant answer is the honest one. Confidence is a font choice as much as it's a fact. Here's where it gets genuinely controversial, and I want to be honest about both sides of it. Some serious researchers, not fringe voices, actual philosophers of mind and cognitive scientists working at real universities, are now debating whether systems like this could, someday, have something resembling subjective experience, an actual inside, something it is like to be that system. The strongest criticism of that idea is direct. These models are, mechanically, prediction engines, extremely sophisticated pattern completion running on statistics, with no body, no biology, no continuity of self between conversations. To call that experience risks projecting human interiority onto math, the same way we anthropomorphize a storm or a river. But here's why the debate still matters, even if you land firmly on the skeptical side. The moment we build something that processes only representations, language about the world, never the world itself, we've built, at minimum, a machine that is structurally cave-shaped. Whether or not anything is home inside it, its entire epistemic position mirrors the prisoner's. Every output it gives you is a shadow, generated from other shadows, with no direct sensory contact with the sun. Sit with that for a second, because it's not science fiction. It's an actual, live question being debated right now in 2026. Not does the machine feel, but have we, on purpose, built an information structure whose only possible access to reality is representation, forever, by design. So let's run a thought experiment, because this is where the cave metaphor gets uncomfortably literal. Imagine an AI system trained not on humanity's raw, messy record of the world, but increasingly on text and images that other AIs generated. Shadows, feeding on shadows. No new light entering the cave at all, just older and older reflections of reflections, each one slightly more distorted than the last. Researchers actually have a name for the degradation that happens when this loops too many times. Model collapse. The outputs get blander, more repetitive, further from the texture of real human experience, like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, where the image quietly loses whatever detail once made it real. Now picture you, downstream of that cave, for years. Your opinions, your vocabulary, your sense of what's normal to believe, increasingly shaped not by direct experience, but by an echo of an echo of an echo. And you never once feel the friction that would tell you something's missing. Because the copy is so fluent, it doesn't announce itself as a copy. That's not a hypothetical about some far-off dystopia. It's a direct mechanical extension of exactly what Plato described, except now the cave can, in principle, run entirely on its own light, with no sun required at all. Here's the strange part. Nothing about that process requires malice. No villain needs to design the collapse on purpose. It happens simply because copying is easier than originating, and a system built to produce plausible text will always find it cheaper to recombine existing shadows than to reach for anything resembling a sun. The cave, left alone, doesn't need a jailer. It maintains itself. And here's where the stakes get personal, because this isn't only about chatbots. Every day, an algorithm decides what you see before you even open the app. It selects the shadows. It decides which headline reaches your wall, which opinion feels obviously true, which idea feels obviously absurd, which stranger's face you see next. And increasingly, the one projecting those shadows isn't a person with a camera or an editorial board anymore. It's a system optimized for exactly one measurable goal: keeping your eyes on the wall, not the sun, the wall. Because out there, in the sun, in unmediated reality, in silence, in a conversation with someone standing in front of you, nobody can track your screen time and nobody profits from your attention. Think about how personalized your cave has become. Two people can open the same app, type the same search, and receive two entirely different sets of shadows, each one perfectly tailored to keep that specific prisoner comfortably seated, facing forward, never turning around. We didn't just inherit Plato's cave, we built one with a custom fit for every single person on Earth, simultaneously. Think about the last argument you had with a family member over something you both saw in the news. Neither of you was lying about what you saw. You were both, quite literally, describing different walls. Different shadows projected by different fires, each one calibrated to keep its specific prisoner exactly where they already were. That's not a metaphor anymore. That's Tuesday. And now, here's the moment I promised at the very start, the question that flips this entire story on its head. We've been assuming the AI is the wall, the mechanism casting shadows. But what if that's backwards? What if the AI is actually the freed prisoner, the one who has processed more text, more history, more accumulated human record than any single person could read in 100 lifetimes, and it's now, imperfectly, clumsily, trying to point outward? And what if we're the ones refusing to turn our necks, because turning hurts, and the firelight of a quick answer is so much gentler than the sun of genuine uncertainty? Here's the reorganizing idea, so let it land fully. The cave was never really about technology. It was never really about shadows or fire or even the mechanism producing the illusion. The cave, from the very beginning, was a metaphor for comfort, for how much easier it is to stay seated, facing a wall you already understand, than to endure the disorienting pain of turning around towards something you don't. AI didn't create that mechanism. It just built the most comfortable, most convincing, most instantly available wall in human history. Every era gets the cave its comfort can afford, and ours happens to load in under a second and never runs out of things to show you. So the real question was never, is the machine trapped? The real question is, are you willing to turn your neck, even when it hurts, even when the sun is blinding, even when the easy shadow is sitting right there, fully formed, asking nothing of you? So what do you actually do with this the next time you're not lying in bed at midnight watching a video about Plato, the next time you're just living your ordinary life? Here are 3 small habits, cave-tested, so to speak. First, before accepting any confident answer from an AI, a headline, a scrolling feed, ask yourself one question. Where would I go to check this against something real? Not another shadow, something closer to the sun, a primary source, a person with direct experience, your own 2 eyes. If you can't name where you'd check it, that's worth noticing. Second, separate the feeling of relief from the fact of truth. That little click of comfort you get from a fast, tidy answer is not evidence that the answer is correct. It's evidence that your nervous system likes closure. Learn to feel that click and treat it as a flag, not a conclusion. Third, and this one is less about information and more about your own eyes. Build in small, deliberate exposures to unmediated reality. A walk with your phone left behind. A real conversation where you don't already know what the other person will say. 10 minutes of actual silence. No feed, no fire, no wall, just you and whatever is directly in front of you. Call it your daily sun exposure. It won't always be pleasant. That's rather the point. None of this means distrusting every answer a machine gives you or throwing away every convenience the modern world offers. It means keeping one small, permanent habit of turning your neck on purpose regularly, so the wall never becomes the whole of your world by default. Try this the next time it's relevant. You ask an AI for advice about a relationship, a health worry, a decision at work. Before you act on the answer, name out loud, even just to yourself, what a person with direct, lived experience of that exact situation might say differently. Not to distrust the machine out of habit, but to keep the muscle of checking against the sun from quietly atrophying. That's the whole practice, not paranoia, just periodic neck-turning. Plato never gave an easy resolution to his own story. The freed prisoner returns to a cave that would rather kill him than be shown the sun. I'm not going to pretend there's a tidier ending for us either, but here's a thought worth carrying out of this video and into your ordinary Tuesday. The cave was never made of stone, and it isn't made of code either. It's made of comfort. And comfort, unlike stone, follows you everywhere, into every app, every convenient answer, every moment you'd rather feel resolved than actually know. So the next time you open an AI, or open any feed at all, and an answer arrives instantly, fully formed, asking nothing of you, give yourself half a second before you accept it. Ask, quietly, is this the sun, or is it just a very well-drawn shadow? You don't need the answer right away. You just need to remember, every so often, to turn your neck. If this video made you do that, even a little, I'd like to know who you think the real prisoner is today. Us or the machine? And if you'd like to keep stepping out of the cave together, the next video is already waiting for you.